Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. This time we're headed north, way north, to explore Greenland.
That's right.
A place most people probably just think of as,
Nice and
yeah, just a giant ice cube.
Yeah.
But we're going to discover that it's so much more than that.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going to talk about the unique geography and climate.
Of course.
The really, really fascinating history that goes back thousands of years.
Yes.
And it's kind of a complicated relationship with Denmark and the U.S.
For sure.
So stick around to the end. We've got a thought-provoking question about Greenland's future.
Okay.
And if you like what you hear today and want to explore more fascinating topics from around the world, be sure to check out other deep dives on Corecast.
Now, when we talk about Greenland, one of the things that just blows my mind is how extreme it is.
Okay.
I mean, in every way, geographically, historically, you name it. I mean, for starters, it's the world's largest island.
It is?
But it has a population that you could practically fit in a small town.
Really?
It's incredible.
That is wild. I was reading that Greenland is actually 50 times bigger than Denmark.
It is.
And Denmark's not tiny.
No.
And you're telling me that the population density is so low that it's like having an entire football field all to yourself?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
But don't let that emptiness fool ya. This place has a history as dramatic as its landscape.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Well, we all know about the massive ice sheet that covers most of Greenland and how its melting is impacting sea levels worldwide.
Yeah.
But, for someone like me who doesn't live right on the coast, what does that really mean for me?
So if that entire ice sheet were to melt, we'd be talking about a sea level rise of almost 8 meters.
What's the meters?
8 meters. That's taller than a 2-story house.
Yeah.
So even if you're miles inland, the impact of that would be felt globally.
Yeah. That puts it into perspective, for sure. And just to make things even more interesting, I was reading that they discovered the world's longest canyon.
I know.
Hidden beneath that ice sheet.
Isn't that amazing?
It's incredible. Like, what else is down there?
Exactly. Speaking of drama, did you know that most scientists believe that the sinking of the Titanic was actually caused by an iceberg that broke off from Greenland's Jakobshavn Glacier?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's chilling.
It is. And it's not the only maritime tragedy linked to Greenlandic ice.
Really?
There's the story of the Hans Hedtoft, a Danish liner that vanished in 1959.
Oh, no.
Just gone without a trace.
Wow.
Like a real-life ghost ship.
That's crazy.
Those events, they're just recent blips in Greenland's long and fascinating history.
Right.
Humans have actually been living on this island for millennia.
Wow.
And did you know that the very first settlers, the Paleo-Eskimos, they actually came from the American continent?
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Huh. I always kind of pictured it being populated from Europe.
Yeah, that's a common assumption.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have the Vikings bursting onto the scene.
Of course.
Yeah, around 980 A.D., Eric the Red, who was actually banished from Iceland, he landed in Greenland, and he even gave it its name.
Okay.
Maybe a bit of clever marketing, considering how harsh the conditions can be?
Clever, maybe, but also kind of misleading.
Right.
Greenland, even back then.
Yeah.
Even if it was a little bit warmer.
It was a tough life.
Yeah.
But those Viking settlements did manage to survive for centuries.
Okay.
But ultimately, they disappeared.
So what happened? Was it just the harsh climate that did them in?
It was a perfect storm of factors.
Okay.
Climate change definitely played a role, as did conflicts with the Inuit people.
Oh, right.
Who were already living there.
Of course.
And also, their ties with Europe were quite weak.
Yeah.
Which left them vulnerable.
It's a good reminder that even the toughest societies
can
crumble when faced with environmental and social pressures.
Absolutely.
But how did Greenland eventually end up under Danish rule?
Well, it all started in the 14th century.
Okay.
When Greenlandic colonists pledged allegiance to the Norwegian king in exchange for resources.
Oh.
And then through a series of political twists and turns, Greenland fell under Danish control.
And from what I understand, Denmark held a pretty tight grip on Greenland for centuries.
They did.
Right.
Yes.
Like they controlled trade and pretty much dictated life on the island.
That's right. And it wasn't always beneficial to the Inuit people.
Right.
There are some pretty dark chapters in Greenland's history.
Yeah.
Including forced assimilation policies and even attempts to control their birth rate.
I've heard that called a quiet genocide.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I fully understand what that means.
It refers to a systematic effort to suppress a particular population.
Okay.
Often through policies that undermine their culture, their identity, even their ability to have children. In Greenland's case, this involved relocating Inuit communities.
Oh, wow.
Limiting their access to traditional hunting grounds.
Wow. I had no idea it was that dire.
It's a really tragic period in their history.
And then to make things even more complex, the United States enters the picture.
Yeah.
I understand the U.S. has had a long-standing interest in Greenland.
They have.
Dating back to the 19th century.
Absolutely.
Really?
In fact, they actually tried to buy Greenland in 1867.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
Like the whole thing?
The whole thing.
Wow.
They saw its strategic value even back then.
So this wasn't just a Donald Trump thing?
No.
He just made it more public?
He made it much more public.
Yeah.
But yeah, Trump wasn't the first U.S. president to eye Greenland strategically.
Wow.
But his very public pronouncements about wanting to buy the island definitely took everyone by surprise.
To say the least.
Yes.
So how did Denmark and Greenland react to his offer?
Well,
I'm guessing they weren't thrilled.
not at all. Denmark's prime minister called Trump's proposal absurd.
Yeah, I bet.
And Greenland's Ministry of Foreign Affairs made it very clear that Greenland was open for business but not for sale.
I love that.
Yeah.
But I guess Trump's comments, as outlandish as they seemed, really did highlight Greenland's importance
He did.
on the world stage.
It's fascinating how this island, once viewed as this remote and insignificant outpost, is suddenly at the center of this geopolitical tug-of-war.
It really is.
And this raises a really important question.
What's that?
What does the future hold for Greenland?
Right. Will they achieve full independence?
Yeah.
Will they maintain those ties with Denmark?
All right.
Or will they get swept up in this global power struggle?
It's a question with no easy answers.
Oh, sure.
But to understand the possibilities, we need to delve into the perspectives of the people who actually call Greenland home.
Right, because it's their future that's at stake.
Exactly. The majority of Greenland's population is Inuit.
Mm-hmm.
And their voices are critical in shaping the island's destiny.
Yeah.
There's this strong desire for self-determination, but also a recognition of the economic challenges that come with independence.
So it sounds like they're trying to balance their dreams with the reality of their situation.
Exactly. And to delve deeper into these perspectives, let's look at some recent polls and statements from Greenlandic leaders.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
What are people saying about their hopes and fears for the future?
Well, one poll indicated that while most Greenlanders support independence in principle, many hesitate if it means a lower standard of living.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
People want freedom, but they also want economic security.
Absolutely.
It's a tough balancing act.
It is. And Greenland's Prime Minister, Mute Ejid, has expressed a desire for independence, but has also emphasized the need for a responsible and gradual transition.
Yeah.
He's even hinted at a referendum on independence as early as 2025.
Wow, 2025. That's right around the corner.
It is.
Things could get really interesting really fast.
They definitely could. But as we head into the next part of our deep dive, it's crucial to remember that Greenland's future ultimately rests with its people.
Yeah.
They will be the ones navigating this complex landscape of history, geopolitics, and economic realities.
Absolutely.
It's fascinating to see how Greenland is grappling with these big questions about its future.
Yeah.
But to really understand the current situation, I think we need to go back to the Cold War era. A time when Greenland's strategic importance was really thrown into sharp relief.
Right, because that's when the U.S. really ramped up its military presence in Greenland, right?
Exactly.
They established that major air base at Thule.
That's right. Thule Air Base became a key element in the Cold War strategy.
Right.
You had American bombers stationed there ready to strike Soviet targets if things escalated.
So Greenland was essentially on the front lines of this global standoff between superpowers.
Absolutely.
That must have been incredibly tense for the people living there.
It was, and the dangers of having this military presence really hit home in 1968.
Oh, wow.
The B-52 bomber carrying 4 nuclear bombs crashed near Thule.
4 nuclear bombs?
4 nuclear bombs.
Oh my gosh, that sounds terrifying.
It was a major incident.
What were the long-term effects of that?
Well, the crash caused radioactive contamination.
Oh, no.
Leading to a major diplomatic incident between Denmark and the U.S.
Wow. It was a real wake-up call.
Yeah.
Highlighting the risks of militarizing this fragile environment.
I can only imagine the fear and outrage that must have sparked among the Greenlandic people.
Absolutely.
But did they even have a say in any of this?
That's a crucial point.
Because it feels like for centuries, their fate was decided by outside forces.
Yeah, but during the 20th century, the movement for Greenlandic autonomy started gaining traction.
Okay.
And this led to them gaining home rule in 1979.
Can you explain what that means for those of us who maybe aren't familiar with the term?
Yeah, home rule basically gave Greenlanders the power to manage many of their own internal affairs.
Okay.
They formed their own parliament and government.
Okay.
While Denmark retained control over things like defense and foreign policy.
So it was a significant step
Yeah.
towards self-determination, but not full independence.
Exactly.
What were some of the first things they focused on once they had more control?
Well, one of the early symbolic acts was replacing Danish place names with traditional Inuit ones. Oh.
So the capital Godthaab became Nuuk.
Okay.
They also decided to leave the European Economic Community in 1985.
Wow.
Even though Denmark remained a member.
So they were really asserting their cultural and political identity.
Yes.
Choosing their own path.
Yeah.
And this drive for self-determination continued, leading to that referendum in 2008.
Yeah.
Which gave them even more control over their resources and law enforcement.
You got it. It seemed like full independence was just a matter of time.
Yeah.
However, it's not as straightforward as it might seem.
Okay.
Greenland still relies heavily on subsidies from Denmark.
So they're caught in this delicate balancing act.
Yeah.
Between their desire for freedom and their economic dependence.
Right.
And then Donald Trump comes along and throws another wrench into the works with his talk of buying Greenland.
He did. It's like this island, long overlooked by the world, suddenly found itself in the spotlight. Yeah. Becoming a pawn in this geopolitical chess game between major powers.
It's kind of mind-blowing.
It is.
What do you think attracted these global players to Greenland?
I think it's a combination of factors.
Okay.
Greenland holds these vast, untapped mineral resources.
Right.
Including rare earth elements, which are crucial for technologies like smartphones and electric vehicles.
But it's also about strategic positioning.
Oh, absolutely.
With climate change melting Arctic ice,
yeah,
new shipping routes are opening up.
Yeah.
And Greenland sits right in the middle of this emerging maritime highway.
Exactly.
So it's about controlling access and influence in a rapidly changing Arctic landscape.
Absolutely.
And in that context, Greenland's desire for independence takes on a whole new dimension.
It does.
It's not just about seeking autonomy, it's about asserting their right to determine their own future.
Yeah.
In the face of these competing global interests.
Absolutely. It's a remarkable situation.
It is.
And it raises so many questions.
Like what?
How will Greenland navigate these complex pressures?
Yeah, will they be able to leverage their strategic importance to gain full independence, while also protecting their unique culture and environment?
Or will they get caught in the crossfire of these global power plays, potentially losing control of their own destiny?
These are questions that only time will answer.
Yeah.
But one thing is, certain Greenland's story is far from over.
Absolutely.
You know, it's amazing to think about how much Greenland has gone through.
Yeah.
From Viking settlements to Cold War tensions, and now this push for independence amidst a changing global landscape.
Absolutely.
Like this island once considered a remote backwater is suddenly thrust onto the center stage.
It really highlights how interconnected our world is.
Yeah.
And how a place that might seem isolated can become a focal point for these global issues.
Well, we've covered so much in this deep dive.
We have.
Greenland's extreme environment, its fascinating history, its relationship with Denmark and the U.S., and the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead.
We've explored how Greenland is caught between these powerful forces, its own aspirations for independence, the interests of global powers, and the impact of climate change.
Right.
It's a lot to unpack.
It is.
And it leaves us with some big questions about what the future holds.
Exactly. And as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to turn the conversation over to you, our listener.
Yes.
We've explored the facts, the history, and the different perspectives.
Right.
But what does it all mean for you?
Given everything we've discussed, what do you think the future holds for Greenland?
Yeah. Will they achieve full independence, forging their own path in a rapidly changing world?
Will they maintain their ties with Denmark, finding security in a long-standing relationship?
Or will they get caught in the crossfire of global power plays, potentially losing control of their own destiny?
It's a complex situation with no easy answers.
For sure.
But that's what makes it so fascinating.
It is. We encourage you to keep learning, keep exploring, and keep asking questions about Greenland and the forces shaping our world.
Because what happens in Greenland, in a sense, happens to all of us.
That's a good point.
It's a reminder of how interconnected we are.
Yeah.
And how decisions made in one part of the world can ripple out and affect us all.
Absolutely.
So thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this deep dive into Greenland.
And until next time, keep exploring.